Thank you. Once again, greetings to all. I am presenting here the need of transboundary vulture conservation. As we have little time, please next slide. I've already shown these slides that 119 white-rimmed vultures, 59 captive and 6 wild telemetry tracks have been in the vultures and released into the wild. Next slide, please. And we have been tracking on every tagged vultures on a regular basis, and the required ground truthing we have been doing. And the newly established this Gandakilo mini vulture safe zone is where these vultures are mostly traveling, and they are frequently crossing the border to the Indian northern side of the India to forage and then return back to the vulture safe zone area in Nepal. Next slide, please. Similarly, next slide, please. This is the captive vultures movement, which is also mostly in the release site, locally in the remaining in the release site, but some of them have traveled very far. And looking back, this monitoring data also shows that this both captive and the wild birds are moving in the cross border landscape of Nepal and India for foraging, roosting, and possibly some of the nesting. So which strongly recommends the wider this transboundary collaboration. Next slide, please. Due to this long distance travel by the captive vultures and unable to compete with the wild vultures, captive release birds are found weak and grounded in different parts of Nepal as well as in India. Actually, in India, we have rescued the 5 weak birds by the local people of India, forest officials from in the Indian side, and we have been regular communication and coordination with BNHS team for the rescue and the treatment process. So there are 5 rescued vultures in India, and some of them were re-released after the treatment and care from the Indian side. And similarly in Nepal, we recently rescued and successfully treated the captive vulture that was released from Rajabhat Vulture Conservation Breeding Center, West Bengal, from the Kosi area, and currently 1 captive vultures of Nepal that has been rescued in Bihar, India. Next slide, please. These are some of the transboundary meetings, local level meetings from both the countries, but recently we have some gap in the information sharing about the transboundary meeting. Next slide, please. Yeah, though the SAVE as a consortium of 25 partners working together to save the Asia's globally threatened vulture species, which provides the common platform and guidance to all the range countries. But however, there is a need of strong and grassroots level, local level coordination and collaboration between Nepal and India for the joint research and monitoring, rescue, and also to eliminate the threats to the vultures, which is beyond the boundaries, as the vultures roam far and widely in both the countries without the respect of international boundary. So the transboundary collaboration on vulture conservation with India should be greatly improved, not only between conservation bodies, but through the government levels. Yeah, thank you. This much for my presentation. Over to, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ankit, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm Dr. Rohan Sringapure from BNHS, and I'll now be sharing the Indian perspective and the importance of transboundary cooperation with the neighboring countries. So as you can see from this map, India shares borders with several countries. And among these, in the context of this presentation, the Indo-Nepal border is crucial with respect to vulture movement, as more than 5 vultures have traveled between the 2 countries, between India and Nepal. To give you an example of how far vultures can fly, 1 vulture released from West Bengal in India has traveled to Bhutan and then to Nepal via Bangladesh. So it has covered 3-4 countries on the way. And other vulture released from Nepal has traveled up to Himachal Pradesh, which is more than 500 kilometers away. So vultures can fly very far away, and hence there should be cooperation between different countries involved. So before vultures are reintroduced in the wild, there is provision for strategic dialogue for cooperation between the governments of various countries involved. And the released vultures are then tracked by a satellite tag, and the locations about their movement are communicated to the other agencies involved, and then they help in the tracking. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So I'll come up with a few examples of vultures traveling from Nepal and have been rescued in India, specifically in Uttar Pradesh. And how we have, as BNHS has coordinated with the Forest Department of Uttar Pradesh in India and helped in the rehabilitation of these vultures. So the first vulture to travel from Nepal to India in the last couple of years was white-backed vulture C3, who had traveled to India twice, and both the times it was rescued and rehabilitated. First, it had come to Kushinagar district and then to Sitapur district. The first time it was rehabilitated successfully and gained about 500 grams of weight during a period of 10 days. And but the second time it was rehabilitated again, but unfortunately it was attacked by a python and the vulture died unfortunately. Next slide, please. So another vulture C5, it had come to a border security force camp in Maharajganj in April 2020. And despite the lockdown and all the situation in both India and Nepal, BNHS and the UP Forest Department intervened and prevented the vulture from getting shot down, because the commandant initially thought that the vulture was a spy, looking at the wing tag and the PTT on its back and all. So they thought it was a spy and they were going to shoot it down. But because of intervention from the BNHS and the Forest Department, they decided to leave it alone, and the vulture was rehabilitated successfully. Next slide, please. So another vulture C7, it was also rescued in Kushinagar, and under advice again from the BNHS team, the Forest Department kept it in a cool and shaded place with plenty of food and water, and it gained plenty of weight during a period of 5 days, and it was released back in the wild. And the VSG Nepal team indicated that the bird had successfully reached Nepal and it was safe and healthy. Next slide, please. So we have also helped in the ground truthing of satellite data from the released vultures. So whenever the VSG Nepal team indicates that any vulture has traveled to India, we send our teams to the exact location that they have sent and see whether any vulture has come there. Next slide. BNHS has also helped in the coordination of a post-mortem examination of a dead vulture that had come in from Nepal. It had come to the Siddharthnagar district of UP, and it died there. And we coordinated the post-mortem examination of the vulture. It was confirmed that it did not die due to NSAID poisoning, but they felt the veterinarians who did the post-mortem, they felt that it was due to electrocution. Next slide. So these are some of the suggestions for the way forward. As Ankit also suggested that we have not been able to conduct as many meetings between the governments in the recent past. So we should organize a joint meeting between the forest departments of the countries involved, especially in India and Nepal. And BNHS and BCN can also participate in the meeting and present data from the released vultures regarding their movements. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rohan and Ankit. Very nice presentation. So I'm just briefing few things regarding our satellite tagging program in Bangladesh. So we are recently we have started our program because our 2 vulture safe zone area actually transboundary vulture safe zone, like our vulture safe zone 47,000 square kilometer, and the other area inside Indian part. So in our Remakalanga area, one of our vulture safe zone, we want to see how our vulture movement actually from Bangladesh to India. On this regard, we arrange a training program with our vulture people in Bangladesh, particularly Bangladesh Forest Department colleagues and IUCN staffs. So trained by Duncan and John Mallard. So successfully the two training conducted in Bangladesh. Next slide, please. So after training, so we actually, next slide, please. So after training, we tried to capture the bird, the wild vulture, white-rump vulture. So we made a trap. So there is a specific measurement in our vulture feeding station. We made this trap and provided in the feeding station very close to the trap. The cattle we provided and used to habituated for the vulture. So this trap height was actually 20 feet and width was actually 27 feet. And we provided 8 cattle during this period to habituate our white-rump vulture in the feeding station. Next slide, please. So this process was actually around 2 months to capture the wild vulture. Next slide, please. So we finally 20 October we caught actually we captured actually 2 white-rump vulture. We tagged one white-rump vulture that was actually sub-adult. The weight of the vulture was actually 4.2 kg. And this we named this vulture as a Rema. And this bird travel up to Bangladesh, both country 77 kilometer. So regularly the bird is traveling. So the circle is inside India and the other part actually in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh around 47 kilometer. They always travel, and the Indian part very close to Tripura, so around 31 kilometer. So every day the bird is moving from India to Bangladesh. The bird is preferring roosting for roosting and feeding inside Bangladesh, but traveling in India as well for feeding. There is a river called Khoi River. So the bird is traveling around this river. Next slide, please. So there are some few things we need to ensure both of the countries. So we know very well about the Bangladesh condition, like breeding colony, safe food status, roosting area, vulture safe zone status, feeding station, status of NSID and vulture conservation team. So all the things we know very well in Bangladesh context, but in the other part, the area where the bird is traveling. So we don't know exactly. We are connecting with BNAs, Bombay National History Society, and our local people to know the status actually. So we know only the roosting area and feeding area of this bird, but we need to know other information. Next slide, please. And so there are more, you can see the more information of this bird. The bird name is Rema. You can see animal tracker, move bank, and ornithac. So we find out this colony in Indian part. This area name is Kollanpur of Tripura state. So we captured this period. One of our friend Pinak Pal, along with this colony, our tag bird always travel. This colony actually, this bird colony actually travel Bangladesh to India, even frequently actually. So could you please play a video?
Dipu, we're horribly over time, so I'm afraid we're going to have to miss the video. And if you could conclude, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So you can see all the information in our animal tracker apps. So you can see, you can find it in your mobile. So thank you so much all.
Lovely. Thanks.